And we're back. We're back for Pixels and Pints, all new on Fox. I don't think actually we can say that. Tonight, it's just me, Tom, and Peter.
Hello.
We will be talking about all things beer, comic book, and whatever we researched in the last 5 minutes. Coming up next.
Yeah, a couple of ill-informed idiots talking about pop culture and beer.
A literal couple.
And, This is cute. Well, we did have another ill-informed idiot who was an idiot on the way here and realized he had a scheduling problem, so he had to turn around.
I can just picture Dan doing just the big freeway U-turn as well. Just oh shit, I gotta go back.
Yeah, so it's just the two of us. Just the two of us.
It's a very intimate setting. There's lots of candles, as you can probably see.
That's right. We've both been worked off our feet, so we were literally researching 5 minutes ago and have instantly forgotten everything that we researched.
No, I wrote down what you said. We got it. We're good.
Cool. Well, kick us off with the topic then.
Well, let's talk about the last thing we were talking about, the recently announced Flash film.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller, who's, I'm pretty sure we couldn't remember his name last week.
And when he says we, I'm pretty sure he means me, but that's okay.
No one could. We were all like, oh, that guy, he was also in Harry Potter or I don't know, something. So they have fun. This movie's been kind of almost through development hell. I was reading they lost 2 directors. They completely rewrote the script. Andy
Muschietti is the director.
Is he now?
Now, he directed It and
cool.
It Chapter 2.
I remember watching.
Interesting doing a Flash horror movie.
Well, it's Flashpoint, so it's based off Flashpoint, so that's always cool.
Which makes sense with the news that you were about to lead into.
Well, you can lead into it because you came in with it.
Well, Michael Keaton has just been announced to be playing Batman, and Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. So it has to be a Flashpoint. So if you haven't seen the cartoon movie,
that cartoon movie is really good.
It's fucking epic. Yeah. It's a great movie. But yeah, Flash. I can't remember why he fractures time and ends up in an alternate universe where
just running too quickly. He was running from something.
He was running from something. I don't remember what it was. It's been a long time. It's been several years since I've seen that movie. But he fractures time and ends up in an alternate dimension where...
Don't you hate it when you do that?
Yeah. Bruce Wayne's dad is Batman with badass red eyes in the cowl and a red fucking bat logo on his chest.
And the dual pistols.
He's a very different kind of Batman, a lot more grizzled veteran.
That was actually I think, because whenever I play the Rocksteady Batman games, like Arkham series, I'd always use the animated series Batman because it's classic. You can't help but use it. But when the Flashpoint one turned up in Arkham Knight, I did use that a fair bit. Yeah. It was pretty badass. He just
looks badass, yeah. So I can only imagine that if Ben Affleck's actually in the film, he's got to be playing kind of the pre-Flashpoint Batman, and then Michael Keaton will play his dad, presumably.
That'd be sick.
Presumably.
Yeah. Because I would have hoped they would have brought in...
Well, you've got to have Aquaman, and you've got to have Wonder Woman. Like the supporting cast at least in the TV movie or the comic movie, cartoon, otherwise known as, all of those major characters are crucial to the storyline. So, I mean,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Imagine if they brought him in as the. He'd make a sick
He would.
Not dark Batman, for the lack of a better word.
Batman's dad.
Batman's dad. All right, we're drinking a beer. Our first beer of the night. Funnily enough, Dan, in his absence, was also bringing the beers. So
thanks, Dan.
Can you imagine?
I don't want to load him up too much. He already feels terrible about it. And he sat in traffic for no reason.
I think we can give him a bit. No. So we literally just jumped in Peter's Bat Tank.
The monster.
The beast. And jumped up to Cuddy Cellars up in Crow's Nest.
Which is surprisingly 3 minutes from my house, and I didn't know existed.
And now you do.
Now that I do, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
For spending all my money on beer.
Very good beers up there. Fun little side fact for no one, because no one cares. I used to live next door to that shop. That's how I knew about it. But we spotted this. It's from Dad and Dave's Brewing over in the Northern Beaches, Brookvale to be exact. We've done one of their beers before with Liam.
I think we've done a couple actually.
Yeah.
Because Dan knows.
This is their rebrand though.
Yeah,
This is their new rebrand. This is their Dragonfruit Sour.
And I grabbed this off the shelf because I love Dragonfruit.
Yep. Inspired by the middle child, Jess. She's Dad's daughter and Dave's sister. She's a little sour, slightly sweet, and a temper. Jess is great, just like this beer. It's made in the Berliner Weiss style. You'll get a bright pink pour, light tartness, and a sweet kiwi and pear aroma. It's 3.5%.
Lawnmower beer.
Yeah. Perfect sunny afternoon beer.
So it is, it's definitely a Berliner Weiss rather than, like it's not too sour, it's not mouth puckering, but it's got a bit of a sour punch to it. It's inoffensive. That's how I would describe it.
Well, I learned because Pash is passion fruit and dragon fruit from Batch.
Yep.
So it's nice to see a dragon fruit at the front because normally dragon fruit's just used for the color more than anything else.
It is a very subtle flavored fruit.
But I'm loving it because it is just slightly like it's so subtle and just there. But
trying to get my beard hairs under the glass so I can smell it without
it
tickling my nostrils.
Sift them through the moustache. It filters the smells for you.
That's right.
Yeah. As someone who also just spent the last weekend up in the great state of Queensland, in inverted commas for all our Queensland listeners, and having...
Both of you, get off your sister. No, I'm just kidding. Stay on her.
Very, very limited craft options where I was up in Hamilton Island.
Oh, right. So you were talking proper Queensland, not Brisbane.
No.
Because Fortitude Valley, you can't throw a rock without hitting craft beer.
I would have loved to have been there, yeah. No, there was one craft bar / bottle shop on the island what I researched, and I was like, sick, I'm going to go there. It was looking over the Port of Airlie Marina.
Yep. $50 a can.
Would have happily sat there and smashed. They had over 300 different SKUs, they said on their website.
Are they all Great Northern SKUs?
They're closed. Unfortunately, another victim of COVID, you bastard.
Yeah, okay. I shouldn't be laughing. That is pretty tragic.
But we went to actually have breakfast at the shop next door to it, where it would have been, and I was sitting there and eating my eggs Benedict and just wistfully looking over what could have been. And so I think the craftiest option we managed to find was Bolter, the XBA.
Yep.
Which I was surprised that was on. But otherwise, it's a lot of macro lager.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my stomach hasn't been the same since. It's really annoyed at me.
So I was just making a joke about Great Northern, but it sounds like you probably had quite a bit of it.
I'm getting flashbacks, like numb flashbacks.
It's almost become the new 4X. Certainly amongst the circles I turn, because a lot of the guys I know in Queensland are mad craft beer fans, but there's always Great Northern around. There
were a few bars that had there were 3 variants of 4X. I didn't try any of them. But most other places I went, it was Great Northern. Like, it's kind of taken over.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's almost replaced it.
Yeah.
Like, if you need paint stripper, you know where to go.
Tell you what.
There you go.
It's the place to be. But yeah, that's exciting. I like the idea of a flash film. They released the logo. It's, for,
Flash-like.
It
has a lightning bolt in
a circle. It has a lightning bolt in a circle.
Let me guess. Is it red with yellow in it?
And then silver.
Okay.
Silver in the middle, in between the lightning bolt and like the edge of the gold circle. And it almost looked like different plates, like kind of like Cap Shield.
Yeah, cool.
So I don't know if it was meant to be like, I don't know.
Some sort of armor.
Yeah, potentially.
Cool. I'm just super fucking excited to see Michael Keaton as Batman again. We haven't seen him since...
No.
Well, Batman Returns... Was there a third one? I don't think there was.
No, there wasn't. Because then it went to Val Kilmer. And then Clooney. Nipples.
Ivan Reichman. He's a genius. It's okay. You can undo the evil. I freeze the good guys, but then unfreeze them. Late show reference.
The Batman credit card still always gets me.
Yeah. But it did have Alicia Silverstone before she fell off the side of the earth in a catsuit. And for that, I will continue to watch that movie whenever it comes up. Although I think that might have been the third one with Val Kilmer in it.
No, Val Kilmer was Nicole Kidman. And that was Seal, Kiss from a Rose.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then the fourth one was Batman and Robin. One. Yeah.
Yep.
Had Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy.
Yes. And Alicia Silverstone was Catwoman.
Batwoman.
Yeah, you're right.
Batgirl. Whatever.
I don't know.
Let's not go there.
In a leather suit. Doesn't really matter what character she was playing.
Michael Schumacher. Was it Joel Schumacher?
Joel Schumacher.
Yeah. Michael Schumacher's just filming it as he's doing laps on the...
This is going to be one of those episodes, I can already tell.
Yeah, well, we had to stop you from buying that 13.7% stout. So
Yeah, I think I didn't buy it?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
I stopped you.
And the pissed guy talking to his mate. I was getting some serious Clerks vibes going on in there.
Flashbacks to the video
We
store.
walked in and there's a guy that like he.
I honestly at first I thought he worked there.
Yeah.
I
So
thought
he
just knocked
spoke
off.
like he worked there, but he was just wandering around, just talking to the only other two patrons in the store as if he worked there, and then the guy who actually worked there knew information about him that tells me that they've been mates and hanging out at that store for many, many years.
Oh, and as we walked out, he grabbed the 3 long necks off the bar, and I think he went out the back. So
There you go. You got to have someone to keep you company. That was me working in a video store.
that's true.
8-hour shifts doing absolutely fuck all.
Um,
Let's talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
So you're an episode behind, so I won't say
I am.
anything about the last episode. It's a very, very good episode. It definitely ties a lot of things together, but then also like throws out a few more nuggets for like the last episode, because this to Friday's episode's the last one.
Oh, right.
Only
Already?
6. Only 6. Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
But there was a thing today. Marvel.
I hope the one that I haven't seen. So the one I haven't seen is the penultimate episode. Yeah. So you've got the final
Episode 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And it's big. It's massive. Like after the end of
It'd want to be.
yeah. So the last episode you would have seen ended with John Walker killing the dude in broad daylight.
Yep.
Yeah. So now it's the fallout from that and everything that came with that.
What do you think of the series overall so far?
It definitely felt like it was building up to a really like not a slow burn, like a real slow burn, but it seemed a bit slower to build up. And then kind of everything in episodes 4 and 5, everything seems to happen at once.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll try and reserve judgment for the 5th episode as best I can, but so far I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I don't, and I know I said the same thing about WandaVision, but I know it's not the format of it being, a small TV series, because Mandalorian, I've watched both seasons like 3 times over now.
Yeah.
And fucking love it. So I just can't, there's not enough buddy cop. I mean, there's some very fucking funny lines and interactions between the 2 main characters, but there's not enough of it to make it a buddy cop series.
Yeah. But I wonder if that's just
The American Patriot just fucking annoys me. Kurt Russell's son.
yeah.
As soon as you said that, so I had no idea that what the actor's name was, but as soon as you said that it was Kurt Russell's son, you can instantly picture the resemblance.
And it's funny because when he's in his cap get up, his John Walker get up, he then I can see it 100%. He's got the same jawline and like, we're talking about his goofy ears, but it's like we're used to Kurt Russell with flowing hair and an eye
Yeah,
patch.
that's right. I'm sure if he had a mullet, you wouldn't be able to see it quite as well.
Well, this is the funny thing. I saw a photo of him on Instagram the other day, and he's like, since this thing's come out, he's grown this like massive beard and he's let his hair go out, and it's just like, but it looks like he's trying to hide his Russell features, for lack of a better term.
Right. He's a goofy looking dude though.
He is, but to his credit, he plays a very good villain. Or like, you hate him.
Anti-hero?
You hate him, and that just shows how good his acting is.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I haven't been able to get into it. I don't think the story is expansive enough. I think it gets lost in the detail sometimes.
okay.
And it's detail I don't particularly care about. Okay, so the chick is leading the what are they, the flag fuckers?
Flag smashers.
Flag fuckers.
Flag fuckers. There we go. Take that, Marvel.
And
We've got your number.
She's got a golden heart, but she's going about it all the wrong way. So you've got kind of the anti-hero thing going on. The serums are cool.
That's most idealist, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
That's how they all start out.
Sure. But
change the
I think
world
it's
for the better.
portrayed well, though. Like, it's
Yeah.
portrayed in a balanced way. You get scenes of her blowing shit up and not caring that she killed a bunch of people in a fire in the building, but then she's trying to give back to her community or the displaced.
Yeah.
So, I just find it's just not enough. I'm just not interested. Mandalorian, every time an episode came out, I was excited to race home and watch the episode as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Neither WandaVision nor Falcon and Winter Soldier have kind of delivered on that excitement level for me.
Do you think that comes from more your Star Wars, like inherent Star Wars, like
Definitely
fanboyism?
not.
No?
No, I never read Star Wars comics growing up. I
Yeah.
read a fuck ton of Marvel. So, yeah, definitely not a lack of connection to the material. I mean, the girlfriend and I just watched every MCU movie back to back, essentially, over the space of 3 weeks. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely not the source material that my issue is. It's just the TV series just doesn't excite me. Both of them. I'm hoping the next one does.
Well, the next one's Loki, which is out.
Which looks sick.
11th of June. But that seems more like, and I don't mean to say like, I don't think it will. I think it's like not going to rest entirely on Hiddleston's shoulders, but he's going to carry a fair fucking weight of that.
Yeah.
But he already
fucking
has.
actor.
Yeah, he already has.
Yeah. I think, I mean, the trailer got me excited to see it.
Yeah.
I just hope it fucking delivers. And I just don't know. I still challenge, tell an interesting story over 6 episodes, isn't a big ask if they treat it like a movie. We're going to have a 3-act story. You've got 2 episodes per actor to portray that story. Get on and tell the fucking story. What I'm finding for both of these series is that each episode is treated like it's part of a much larger season of a TV series where there are going to be multiple seasons, but there aren't enough episodes to tell a whole story that way because it's too fucking slow. You don't have enough time. You've got 6 episodes to tell the whole story. So if you have one episode at the start where you fuck around introducing characters and their backstories that no one gives a fuck about, then you've lost, what is it, 20%, less than 20%, 18% or something of 16.67 repeater percent of your total storytelling time talking about who owns the fucking boat in the house. Who gives a shit?
Well, no, it's adding depth to the characters and didn't have the time to do it before.
Yeah, but is it important depth? I mean, he's got a family. They could have ticked that box a lot faster than they fucking did. They devoted way too much time in that first episode to it. No, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I disagree with you on that. I think that's what the characters needed. If they're going to be taken forward to lead the MCU, they need
going to be taken forward to lead the MCU.
New Avengers. That's what it's going to be. That's going to be the team.
Yeah,
that's what they're leading up to, and that's the thing. It's all part of that bigger grand scheme. Like,
so essentially, we're watching 6 episodes of the backstory episode for the next series or the next kind of generation
it saves
of
you
MCU.
from sitting through an origin film.
True, but there aren't many origin films I don't actually enjoy, even though I already know the origins for most of the characters we're talking about. I did, but the irony there is I was utterly bored watching Falcon's interactions with his sister in the boat and all the rest of it. And yet the backstory or the character development for the Winter Soldier, where he'd befriended the father of one of the guys that he'd killed as collateral damage back in the day. Yeah, I found that fascinating. Yeah. They could have done a whole series of just you know what? They could have done a whole series of the Winter Soldier's stories when he was the Winter Soldier, and I would have watched the shit out of that.
Oh yeah, with that 80s kind of Cold War espionage.
Yeah, very much. They could have turned into a fucking spy film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that too. That's not far away either.
No, that's first week of May, or maybe I think it'll push back again. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I think they're pushing it back to release it as I think they're doing both. It's like kind of like the HBO Max. They're doing Disney Plus. Like you have to pay for it to rent it, or you can go to the cinema and watch it.
That beer's got a bit of a, now that it's warmed up and opened up a little bit, I don't know, maybe I've got some residual dishwashing powder in my glass because it's almost malty for me. No?
Maybe you did get a little bit of
suds. Suds. Well, I've got a topic, but I'm not sure if I've talked about it in the podcast before, which has been bugging me. Because I haven't turned my PlayStation on in 3 or 4 weeks. I just haven't had the fucking time. But I have been reading a bit, and I just finished my favorite science fiction author's latest book.
Right.
So the author is Peter F. Hamilton.
Okay.
And the book was Salvation. Oh, fuck, I can't even remember the name of it. I've been working my ring off lately because I'm about to go on holidays. So just getting pulled pillar to post. Saints of Salvation. So it was 2020 novel. Yeah. And it was the 3rd book in a series. So what attracts me to him as I've read a shitload of science fiction. This guy, and you can usually rank them. Like I've read some of the Foundation series. No, Foundation. Yeah, I think it is Foundation. I've read some Isaac Asimov. I've read a lot of 40K novels. I've read a lot of the old science fiction. The old Star Wars novels. Yeah. That is now Legends.
Yes.
Yep. And you know, Warhammer 40K novels and the Star Wars novels are all written by lots of different authors as well. So, and then I started working my way through the Nebula Awards every year. So I've read a lot of random stuff that's like from very famous writers who are world-renowned writers for science fiction because they're the ones that typically pick up the Nebula Award. So it's an award. I don't know if you've heard of them. No. So it's a science fiction fantasy best book awards essentially every year. I'm pretty sure it's UK based. It might be US. But I've found that whilst you can, for me anyway, I can rank the author's quality and, you know, my connectedness to them, because obviously it's a very personal thing as to what style of writing appeals to you. Peter F. Hamilton, for me, stands in a completely different league than the rest.
Sure.
And the reason I find it that way is a few things. His creativity in terms of, if I look at current society and technology and project that forward into the future, what would it look like? He picks out details that so many other authors overlook, and he recognizes that they would have a hugely significant impact on society as a whole, or religion or technology, and then kind of paints that really that really important portrait, but in the background. Okay. So he writes small stories inside humongous kind of space opera backdrops.
Yeah.
So, you know, it kind of reminds me of some of the best science fiction movies we watch. Aliens, there's a shitload going on in the background. Blade Runner, there's a whole universe going on. Star Wars, it's a dirty, lived-in, grimy universe with shit going on in the background that has nothing to do with the main story.
Yeah.
So the story, you know, kind of within the framework of that backdrop paints a very small picture about a boy living at his uncle's house who wants to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Peter F. Hamilton does a brilliant job of writing stories that are like that. So he's done a heist story. He's done a lot of political intrigue stories. He's done, but the backdrop itself sets an interesting framework to tell the story. And so, and I know I'm probably talking too abstractly. So specifically, he wrote a series of novels that started with kind of a short story, and it was called, Misspent Youth. I've got the bibliography in front of me because he's written that many fucking novels.
Yeah, right.
And it was set in like 2070. They've invented technology that rejuvenates cells to allow you to de-age. And they're looking for a test subject this is the first human test subject. And they decide to pick an old man who had developed holographic storage technology that revolutionized the way that the internet worked and the way that the world stored information. He'd invented this technology, but instead of patenting it and selling the shit out of it and making $1 bazillion, he put the schematics up on the internet.
Yeah, right.
And because he made it free for everyone as public information, it totally changed the face of the earth in terms of technology. So they said, well, he's given so much to society at large, let's make him the first person. So he's got a son who's, I think, 18. They rejuvenate him, and he successfully turns back into a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
And then it ends up stealing his own son's girlfriend, and, you know, and so whilst there's some real science fiction shit going on, the story itself is actually really personal and specific about, well, what would you do if you could start again? If you knew everything you know as an 80-year-old and you've lived your entire life and had all those experiences and kind of matured, and now you're a 21-year-old full of vim or piss and vinegar, how would you relive your life? Now, I won't talk to the ending of the story, but it has a bit of a twist at the end. But from that story set in 2070, and it was ultimately a failed technology, his next book was set 150 or 200 years in the future in the same universe where holographic technology or storage technology has been developed over 200 years, but the rejuve technology has been perfected.
Right. How
does that change society? Well, what's the point of having an afterlife in religion if you can live forever or essentially forever? And then, you know, you've got factions that have split off to say, well, that's anti-religious, or, you know, they develop a technology in one of his series where you can upload your consciousness into a massive AI where all of your, you know, you can have 17 generations of grandparents or family lineage all inhabiting their personality all inhabits an artificial intelligence kind of stratum, but they're still individuals. And so they're the teachers for the next generation of kids. So the kids walk around, they're essentially telepathically linked into the internet, if you like, of these habitats. And their great-grandparents and their great-great-grandparents are their teachers, and they educate them as children. So, you know, society as a whole has kind of fractured into the atomists and the Edenists, and the Edenists believe that that's okay, that's an afterlife, and eventually these individual personalities in the AI decide to kind of dissolve into the general intelligent personality of the habitat, whereas the atomists believe in continuation of existence indefinitely, essentially. And so, and the actual books themselves have fuck all to do with any of that. It just happens to be going on in the background and kind of touches in on the stories. So to me, I mean, the guy, I would love, you could never write a movie inside the scope of his books. You can never turn his books into a movie because it's just too broad.
Too much going on,
And you're talking 800 to 1,300 pages per book, and you've got a minimum of 3 books in a trilogy. But I thought it was cool that he wrote this short novella set in 2070 with this base technology. Then he wrote a trilogy of books that were set in a universe that had been fast-forwarded 200 years, and you kind of see how technology has evolved and developed and how that's affected society, but he tells a very small storyline inside that. And then he wrote another trilogy, I think 800 years past that. And you can still see the linkage all the way back to 7 books ago. And you can easily trace the path of how technology has evolved over time to the point where, in the last trilogy, you have the ability to share a personality through a network node, like a wireless node. And you've got people that are illegally cloning their personality into multiple bodies, but they're not individual. They're basically, your body is just an extension of the personality. So there's one person controlling 8 bodies simultaneously.
Sounds tiring.
And then a girl who's a singular has a sexual relationship with this multi-personality. And how that kind of plays out.
Well, I mean, it does raise some pretty interesting, kind of ethical questions. Like, why would you continue to breed if you can just rejuvenate your entire?
Yeah, well, I mean, that has essentially diminished over time. There's no reason to, and yet, ironically, in the backdrop of all of this cool societal impact, his actual storyline ends up exploring religion, but you don't really understand that that's what it's exploring until right at the very end, where there's a mad twist at the end of the trilogy of novels, and you just go, holy fuckballs. He's the only writer that I can literally pick up a book and read from start to finish without taking a breath, and there's always, I just want more. You always get to the end, it makes you think about life and society and everything in a different light, which I think is ultimately one of the goals of reading literature.
Oh, 100%. That's been because I've been rereading the... I know Dan's read it. I'm not sure if you read it. It's the From a Certain Point of View book, which is the...
No, we've talked about it, but I've never read it.
So I was rereading it on the flight up to Hamilton, and talking about what you were saying then about different chapters, or all the chapters written by different writers, and how their particular sci-fi writing, some of it definitely sticks with me, but some of it I'm just like, all right, can get through this to the next one. It doesn't grab you, say where you're talking about Peter there, but it's... that sounds incredibly fascinating, the way he's tying. And I love the fact that he's built his universe and he's sticking to it. And it's he's got his own plan.
He's got 3 universes that he writes books in, and he kind of alternates between the 3. And he hasn't written for the first universe where he did the 2 trilogies plus the Misspent Youth original book. He hasn't written in that for about 15 years, but he's got 2 more universes that he's writing concurrently. And he writes kids' fucking novels, and he writes, he writes short stories as well. I think we might just take a quick break so we can grab another beer, and then I might just tell one more quick story about one of the main one of the main reasons why I think he's if you can read and you like science fiction, you're doing yourself a service by reading something that he's written.
Sounds good. I'll get another beer.
Cool.
And we're back.
We are. Someone moved my mic. Naughty girlfriend. Do you want to start with the beer, and I'll talk about this series of books in a sec? I won't talk about the series of books, but I'll talk about.
Why don't you start talking about the books while I pour the beer?
Okay. All right.
Just to admire the can for a little second. It's really cool artwork.
So I'm an architect at work. I'm an IT architect, so I have a pretty analytical brain. I'm into the detail.
Do you is your favorite character in The Matrix the dude with the pen in the room of TVs?
The architect? No, he really wasn't. He was an annoyance. But so one of the things that I love that Peter F. Hamilton does, and I don't know if he's just well researched or if he did previously have a life as an astrophysicist or a quantum physicist or something, but he goes into ridiculous amounts of detail about things that don't seem to have any relevance until they suddenly really fucking super relevant. So in one of his trilogies, it's a alien invasion story essentially. And I love, and he's not unique in this sense, but I love it when you have alien movies or alien invasion movies or TV series or books where they portray the alien psychology realistically, in that they don't come to Earth and announce their intentions. If they're invading a planet, they're there to do whatever the fuck they're there to do, and we're not going to have a fucking shot in shit of figuring out why they're there before we're wiped off the face of the Earth anyway.
Are they're all set on Earth, his trilogies, like his story arcs?
Earth is part of all three, actually. They all have Earth in the story, but not really, because, in one of them, they've invented gateway technology that allows you to instantly move between 2 points in space and time. Well, in space specifically.
Yeah. Till
it gets a bit weird at the end. So they've expanded. There's hundreds of planets inside the human confederation, if you like.
Sounds like Mass Effect.
Yeah. So Earth is always a part of it. That is always the entry, like the starting point for humanity. But
yeah, cool.
But so these aliens, these bad guys are invading Earth, and I just like it when storytellers portray aliens as completely foreign. You can't argue rationally necessarily with an aggressive race. They're just going to be aggressive. You can't talk them down. There's no amount of negotiating.
Appealing to their human nature?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. And a lot of people don't understand that the likelihood that if we ever did meet an alien race, that we'd be able to connect with them on the amount of levels that we as a society are used to being able to connect with other people. Even if you don't see eye to eye with your enemy, they're still fundamentally human, and you can still connect with them at that level.
Yeah.
And we've been watching the Pacific series, which was the second in the HBO mini series about World War II. So they did Band of Brothers.
So good.
So that was Tom Hanks and Spielberg. We rewatched we rewatched Band of Brothers. The missus hadn't seen it before, and we just gobbled it up. We're watching 2 or 3 episodes a night until we're done.
Yeah.
And then we watched Pacific. But like that, there is always a connection with these German Nazis are running around, gathering Jews in concentration camps. But there are still scenes in that series where the American troops recognize that the German troops that are killing them and that they're killing are fundamentally just humans, and they're there to do a job.
Yeah.
Same as the Yanks were. Mm-hmm. So, there's a disconnect in good storytelling about aliens where that's not necessarily going to be the case.
Yeah.
There's not going to be that level of societal connection. So anyway, one of the things he did is in the first third of one of his novels, he told the story of a solar system, the birth of the solar system, the star, how the planets formed around it, how many planets there were rotating, the tilt leading to the seasons on a particular planet, and how that affected the wildlife and the plants that grew and evolved on that planet, and also the animals that grew on that planet for a very specific reason. These creatures reproduced a certain way. They were immotile, so they couldn't move until they evolved the ability to move, but they were always warlike. They were always from microorganisms. They were always competing with other microorganisms because resources were so scarce.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so as they evolved into sentient beings, they maintained that predisposition to always trying to outcompete with the next creature. They were also an organism made up of a single sentience amongst multiple cells. So as they evolved, they had multiple bodies, but fundamentally a single hive intelligence.
Right.
And so that hive intelligence directed soldier ants who weren't really capable of thinking for themselves, but were able to follow basic commands using, I think, pheromones or something like that. I think it was radio waves by the end.
Yep.
But when they finally invaded Earth, you understood, and this guy wrote a whole chapter. There was like 50 pages dedicated to the evolution of this creature, and you don't hear about this creature until, the last 3 chapters of the book, like 900 pages later, and suddenly when this alien hits the story in terms of invading Earth or invading humanity, you understand why it is the way it is. And it's because of the way that it evolved. And, it evolved that way because of the planet and the solar system's generation. And so for someone like me who has an analytical brain anyway, being able to understand the principles behind why things are the way they are, and for him to dedicate a whole fucking chapter to something that seems irrelevant at the time, I think would have been exhausting for someone who didn't like that kind of style. But you never get to the end of the story and not know why things are the way they are.
Yeah, right.
And to me, that's why he's one of the best, he's the best science fiction writers I've ever read.
Well, yeah, to drop something like that little, 50-page description of this creature's kind of evolution and then discard it so that, depending on how quickly you read books, you might read that over,
3 months?
Yeah, like it could be anything. And then to suddenly then bring it back with all that importance, it's just kind of like...
Yeah, it's some of the
drags
stuff that
you in kind of thing,
some of the stuff he writes about is like quite literally mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I've sat there at the end of one of the trilogies and just gone, fuck, I need a shower. Like, it's just so... It never feels heavy until the end, and then it's just like, holy shit, that's a lot of weight to carry around. Anyway.
That's the power of the book.
That's the power of the book. What are we drinking, mate?
We are drinking the Dark Lager from One Drop Brewing down in Botany. This is... they did two the same. And the artworks are kind of polarized. The artwork on the can, don't know if the camera will catch it, but it's a skeletal warrior in full medieval armor on a big horse with reds, and it's the one drop. Yeah, is the symbol on his armor.
It looks fucking sick.
It looks fantastic.
I think we might have actually tried the other beer in the series because I remember a very similar. Well, I suppose there's been a few of those kinds of
no, we haven't. This has come out like last week or something.
Yeah, right.
In fact, on the bottom of the can, it's printed "The Dark Knight Cometh." The other one was a Vienna lager, so they've done it with like a white knight on it.
Right, right.
So they say on the back here, this is a crisp and clean roast flavor with nuanced hints of caramel and light wafts of coffee. Mild roast character is balanced without any harshness, with smooth malt flavors and a soft hop bitterness. And let me just say, it does exactly what it says on the can. I love a good like roasty dark lager, but it's not too dark. Like it's not Schwartz level where it's like actually black.
Yeah, I typically don't like too much dark beer. But this is almost a gateway drug to it.
Yes.
It's like a really dark red.
Yeah.
You do get
still get that clean, crisp like lager finish.
Yeah.
And this is, even for its dark color, this is something you could happily enjoy on a hot day. Like where
you do get the malty notes. Like it's like if someone dropped a shit ton of malt, dark malt into a lager.
Yeah.
So you're right. It is exactly what it says on the label.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Very good. I was meant to pop down for all our stoner friends out there. Yesterday was 420. Praise it and blaze it. Perfect shirt to be wearing today. Yeah.
I'm just here to offend everyone.
Good. And One Drop actually just did a THC beer.
Yeah, okay.
So they used 2 strains of THC in it that are used in gummies. And
where can you buy this legally in Australia?
I don't know. I just buy the beer.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, they're using the flavorants rather than the actual THC. Because THC is the active ingredient of marijuana that gets you stoned. They're obviously not going to be able to use it in a beer in Australia.
I don't know.
Any beer that gets you stoned in this country is going to end up in jail. The brewer's going to end up in jail. So
I doubt it. Yeah, I think I don't know what they've done with it. I only saw it pop up on, Happy 420 Day. Come celebrate by having this, and I looked up the hashtags they'd put on it, and it was.
They must have used an extract, like a flavorant extract, in place of hops because they're the two species, marijuana and hops, are a cousin species, which is why they're buds, literally buds on hops or cones rather. So I mean, I could see that working. It's just going to be very piney and strong.
Well, I've had a hemp beer before, which was very interesting. Young Henry's did one, and there's been a few others, but. Yeah, anyway, this is their dark lager. I've got the Vienna lager at home, so I'm looking forward to trying that if it's any as good as this one.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And you do get like I said, you get a lot of the dark notes. You get a good roast out of it. Do you get any biscuit?
Not overly. I get a bit of the caramel, but I don't get heaps of biscuit.
I get shit tons of coffee, though.
Yeah.
It's got almost that sour note from coffee.
A little bit, yeah, just at the back there. Yeah.
You could call it a dark sour. Wouldn't take much to get it to that point.
We were out at dinner the other night with a mate's birthday, and he brought along a bottle of natural wine, and everyone just brought wine, and I was like, great. No one told me I could BYO. I would have brought some tasty
barley
beers
wine.
No, but I ended up drinking this particular orange wine, and everyone was like, oh, Tom, I didn't expect you to, polish off that bottle. And I was like, It's just like a very nice sour, like a wild fermented ale.
It's
They're
a
like,
lambic.
yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. Like, it's pretty close.
And yeah, most people the girlfriend did like a wine tasting where they talked about live beers and I don't remember what it was. It was some sort of live wine event. It might have been paint a fucking picture while drinking or some shit. I don't know. She does that kind of stuff. But she brought home a live wine. Or what do they call it? It's not called a live wine, but it's got all the bits in the bottom.
Skin contact? An orange wine?
No, it's maybe it was that, but it had like a shitload of sediment.
A pet nat? That's a sparkling version.
No, it's not sparkling. It's a proper wine. I think it was a rosé.
Yeah.
But it had a crap load of sediment in it, and when you tipped it to pour it, the whole thing turned fucking cloudy. And everyone's like, I can't drink that.
Yeah, that's just natural wine.
It's natural wine. It just tastes exactly the same. But it freaks most people out.
Yep.
As do bits in beer.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you get a little bit of...
I saw that on CBC a few weeks back.
CBC. But yes, you get any kind of floaties in beers. It's just excess proteins usually from the yeast and...
Well, in that particular case, I think on CBC they were... and I've got to say, the beer looked pretty fucking bad. It was
I know
like
the
milk.
exact beer you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it was actually recalled.
Oh, really?
There was...
It was a binding protein that they specifically add for a purpose that I can't recall.
With this one...
It was the style of beer.
Maybe
it was it was a hazing protein.
Maybe we're thinking of a different one. There was one recently that was recalled because the mango had gone off and re-fermented. And
ooh,
I will drink...
So the IBU would have been off the... not the IBU, sorry, the alcohol content would have been off the chart if it was re-fermenting.
So they had to recall because of that. But there was two versions. It was a collab between two breweries. And one was nitro and one was regular CO2.
Yep.
And it's very rare that I will not finish a beer, but I had to pour both of them down the drain. Like, I felt ill.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, like I felt pretty sick to the stomach and I tried both next to, because they were a collab. I was like, oh, cool, I'll do them both together.
Yep.
And they weren't cheap cans. They were like at least $18 each like, for a single tall boy can, like for 40 mils. But yeah, sometimes that's unfortunately.
Well, if they recalled it, you probably could have gotten your money back.
Nah, don't care.
Fair enough.
I spent more on stupider shit, so probably will again.
Well, that's $36 amongst friends.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, no. So this was a beer that was like, it looked like porridge, but as I think
happens a lot with hazies, they get a little floaties, and it's just like, yeah, sometimes it happens.
And one of the brewers, and I don't think he was the brewer of that beer.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, someone was like, a lot of people were absolutely smashing them. Like, why the fuck would you ever release this product like this? And
good old armchair brewer.
Yeah, a couple of brewers piped up and said, look, no one's going to knowingly release a beer like that. It's not a good representation of the industry as a whole, but let's be real here. If you close your eyes, you would never even know that it was in the beer. It doesn't have a texture. It's not lumpy. No. It's literally just hazy. It's hazing protein that they add to the beer to make a hazy, like a NEPA.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting conversation to just sit back and watch. I was an armchair critic of the critics.
See, whenever I see those things, I just always drop in the little Michael Jackson in Thriller, the
popcorn?
GIF, the popcorn GIF, and then I just sit back and watch the comments roll in. What haven't we talked about? Our good friend Ben is currently in the cinemas watching Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Jealous. Got to wait till Friday for that one. I did watch... I was telling
the trailer.
No, the trailer. We've all seen the trailer, but I watched... They released on... It was on just Facebook today. There was the first 7 minutes of the film. Excuse me. And it's Scorpion versus Sub-Zero in Sub-Zero's lackeys in a forest. And it is horrifically brutal.
Yeah, right.
It's the Mortal Kombat movie we finally deserve. Like, we've waited for this one, and I guarantee, even watching the first 7 minutes, this movie is going to deliver like what we want out of a Mortal Kombat film.
Yeah, cool.
Even something like I've never really been into those fighting games. I just never took off for me. But I've watched. I very much enjoy the occasional YouTube video watching someone who's really good at them.
Yep.
And just seeing them do all the finishing moves and stuff. Fatalities, brutality. But in like this opening scene, there was...
Can't do that high enough.
No, you can't. But it's Scorpion not with his chain yet, because he's given up the life, he's retired kind of thing, and Sub-Zero comes and finds him. But he grabs a digging trowel, ties a rope to the end of it, and then is using that like his chain. And he's absolutely necking people left, right, and center.
Wow.
But he does throws it, goes through the guy's neck, and then he pulls it down and like slams him into the ground. I was like, I've seen dudes do that in the game. Like, it was, I'm
brutal. How do they deal with the supernatural themes? Because, I mean, Mortal Kombat, they're not
I think
human.
I think that I'm pretty sure they'll go into it because in the trailer you see Liu Kang pull up the fire dragon.
Yeah, okay.
In this short scene you see Sub-Zero like forms ice on his hand.
Yeah, cool.
No, they do talk about it being in, like he gets transported to the netherworld.
Yeah, right. I've got to say, and this comes up a lot for me intellectually, just watching some of the shit that's going on the internet at the moment. You can pan a movie that's that violent all you like, and there will be plenty of people that would just say this is needlessly gory and what a fucking waste of space. And fair enough, they're entitled to their opinion. I respect that. But if any of those same people play any fucking video game made in the last 10 years, what they probably fail to recognize is some of those video games wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Mortal Kombat video game. So Mortal Kombat was released to serious controversy in terms of how realistic the gore was. It really pushed the boundaries in the 80s.
Yeah.
It would have been the 80s, maybe the early 90s. You had Christian, we'll call them Christian. Christian groups like picket lines to ban the game and calling for its banning. And
what do they know?
well, it's look, if you want to fast forward to 2021 and look at a similar situation that's going on today, look at what happened with the petition to rename Golden Gay Time. And the new petition, which ultimately failed, streets turned around and said, go fuck yourselves. It means happy, and it has always meant happy, and it will always mean happy. There was another petition that was launched last week to rename Fairy Bread because it's offensive to the old what do they call it now? They've shortened it now to something different.
Well, no, it depends how deep you want to go. But
yeah, no, we don't want to go too deep.
No.
I'll end up just
but that's
we'll
the thing.
Get cancelled.
It's anyone with access to a computer now can start a petition. It just depends who gets hold of it. The only reason we know
what pisses me off is the virtue signaling that's going on in society today, where it's I'm offended on behalf of this group who frankly don't really give a fuck. Anyway.
I'm trying to get this tab. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, Mortal Kombat. I mean, I'll watch the movie and I'll enjoy the shit out of it. And a bunch of people will say that's just way too violent and why do it? And I'm just, my statement is at least recognize that it had a significant impact on the video games industry as a whole in terms of what was acceptable. And as a result, a bunch of movies and video games would never have been released if it weren't for them paving that way.
Oh, God, no.
That was the point I wanted to make.
Okay. We got there in the end. Anyway, Mortal Kombat.
What?
So we now
Sorry, we will get back to Mortal Kombat.
No, that's about it. Scorpion kills.
7 minutes.
7 minutes of pure
I'm gonna watch it as soon as you leave.
Gory. So we have Urbanaut. They're a brew from New Zealand and Auckland, I'm pretty sure. Yes, Kingsland, Auckland. They have done a fair few of these. They call the beer blenders. So for those who are watching the video, it is two small 250ml cans. The idea being that you taste can A, you taste can B, and then you blend them together and you get a completely new tasting beer C. So beer A tonight is a coconut hazy IPA, and then beer B is a Queen pineapple sour. And then combined, it's Captain Planet.
Wow, you just like I don't want there to be too much dead air, but I just instantly went to the whole fucking theme song. Thanks very much for that.
You're welcome.
And heart. So I tried one of these not too long. Well, I'd probably actually say not too long ago, probably 12 months ago, and it had a peach sour as the second beer, and I think it might have been a different flavored. It was a lightly flavored IPA.
Last one I had of these was about 2 months ago.
Yeah. Okay.
The
can looked very similar. I'm hoping it's not the same brewer because I'm about to say bad things about it, but it was horrendous. The IPA was shithouse. I ended up just drinking the sour mini can and throwing the rest out.
These are the only guys I know that do this way.
Oops.
That's all right. We're allowed to, we didn't sample it on the podcast. So
True.
It's not the first bad beer we had on the podcast.
I hope I'm about to not say more bad things. So what's it called? Wabba?
Urbanaut. So the last one I had of these.
Thank you.
One of my co-workers got for me because I did some favors for them, and it was one was an apple crumble something, and then there was a rhubarb apple crumble sour and a rhubarb saison, and you mixed them together, and it was meant to be pure dessert.
I miss Doc. Doctor's Orders did tonic, the beer tonic, and that was a really light wheat beer that was designed to be mixed with
gin,
and he co-developed it with a specific gin distiller who had a gin that it was designed to complement more than any other gin. And now, apart from the occasional beer, I'm drinking a shitload of gin and tonic. So I wish we could go back and get some of that. I think his birthday's coming up next month. We're all going.
That is cocoa nutty.
Yeah.
So it's a coconut on the aroma. So yes, your different glass first.
So this is the coconut hazy IPA. Yeah.
Tis indeed.
Yeah, shitloads. And it's designed to blend together into a pina colada, which makes a lot of sense. You've got pineapple sour and you've got coconut IPA.
I was drinking frozen pina coladas from the swim up bar in Hamilton Island. It was quite delightful.
Lovely. Yeah. Oh, that's a lot sweeter than I expected. And that has a shitload of coconut in it.
I reckon they probably use Sabro hops in that, given the...
There's a bit of residual sugar in there.
They probably use actual coconut too. I don't know if it says on the can. Doesn't. I really enjoy that. I'm not the biggest Sabro fan. I find Sabro gets a bit overpowering.
You could see that being a palate fatiguer, and it would, as it warmed up, it would get cloying.
Yeah.
As a flavour.
But
I'm impressed by that IPA. You still get the hops notes out of it. Sorry, you're about to take us on a tangent, so I'm trying to get in all my notes.
Your beer notes. No, I was just going to say there was one particular beer I had that used Sabro, and it was a hopped porter, and in the end it tasted like Jägermeister, and it took me back to some horrible hangovers.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
Anyone in their 30s has been there.
Ooh.
That's a lot of pineapple. Oh, that is a lovely sour.
I could smash that.
Yeah. That's very, very sour. If that's a kettle, I'll be impressed. Sugary, sweet, fresh cut pineapple skewered on a tart citrus sour.
That would have added heaps to that.
Yeah. That's a lovely sour. I'm impressed. So after panning the last kind of...
well, not every combo is going to be for you.
True.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy the quality of the IPA in the last one.
Yeah, but I've had IPAs from brewers that the first time I've had it, I'm like, this is shithouse. And then they've refined it over time. And you go back and like, this is fucking delicious.
Well, I've got to say both of those beers individually are delicious.
Here goes the mixing.
Sorry for those people listening to the podcast as an audio only thing, because there's going to be a bit of dead air while we try and mix without spilling anything.
Didn't spill a drop.
There we go.
Must be a bartender or something.
I tell you what, it does smell like a pina colada. So we've now blended the two beers together.
You get heaps, like we've got heaps of aroma from coconut and pineapple in the first beers, and they've smashed together brilliantly in this.
Holy shit. That really is a pina colada. I'm impressed by how well the sour blends into the IPA. Considering how hoppy the IPA was.
I think I added too much sour. My sour's overtaken it.
No, that is spectacular.
Oh no, it's still good. Don't get me wrong, but I think I've added too much pineapple sour, right. So now I've like got an extra sour pineapple-y.
Try mine.
No, it's all right. It's fine. Cheers to your health.
That was that's very impressive. We got 5 minutes before we need to take a break, thanks to our shitty camera. Have you got a topic? Talk us through the next 4.5 minutes.
Oh yeah, I can do 4.5 minutes of waxing lyrical about the unending grind that was Avengers PS4.
Yeah, thank God you only get 4.5 minutes. Go.
I don't know if you guys have ever entered the seventh circle of hell. It's a fire escape that you lose track of time and everything, and that's what happened to me as I was trying to finish this goddamn platinum.
I'm sure Dante's turning in his grave right now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because he's like, oh, God, you had to play that game? Story was great. I enjoyed it for the most part. And then you get to the like last little bits you get to do. And there's 3 particular things you have to do. You have to go through, rescue 100 prisoners, which I found a mission and I could just farm it. That was fine. Had to open 50 of these one particular box. So like chests. Mm-hmm. And it's not very specific at first about which chest it is. So you think it's this one where you have to go kill a boss.
Yep.
You get a key and then you open it. It's not. It's just one. They call it a shield cache. And you're like, okay. And then you eventually find out it's the one that has the fucking shield logo on it and is the shield blue.
That makes sense.
But they're all got the shield logo on it. Just some are bronze, some are gold, and some are silver. So you're like, okay. And then you got these other ones which mean nothing. So I was eventually figured that out and I was like, cool. Found a mission that had 2 of them in that and I was like, sweet, smash through that. Then the last thing you have to do are these fucking hive missions.
There's always a last trophy for the platinum.
Oh, so they're, at first, the concept, fantastic. It's essentially 5 levels you go through. You either got to have to kill a certain amount of enemies, do like the step on certain pressure pads, which then starts like if you activate all 3, you capture the zone.
Yep.
So it's like a capture the flag. That's the best way to put it. You have like maybe they were to do like a mission where there's 5 particular shielded enemies you have to kill, and then they have waves behind them, which doesn't matter, but you got to focus on the 5. And they had a whole bunch of other ones that you did. So you have to do 50 of these.
Oh, fuck.
5 levels. At the quickest I could get it down to, it was 15 minutes.
And I'm assuming if you fuck up in one of the waves, you have to start again?
You get 3 lives in these ones.
Yep.
So, yeah, but if you die 3 times, go down. And sometimes you would go down for no reason. You'd just be running along and some guy would snipe you out of nowhere and you'd be like, cool, there's all my health gone. Or like you'd use your superpower and it wouldn't work properly. And you'd be like, what the fuck is happening? But so I started by thinking, okay, I've got to do 50 of these. I'll note them as I do them so I can keep track. Because there's no other way to keep track. There's no stats.
No, those games piss me off.
Yeah, most games, like I'm playing.
Obviously, they're counting or else there wouldn't be a trophy for a number.
You can't find it anywhere.
That's just fucking stupid.
I had this piece of paper and I was like, I know I'd done 10 and then we were cleaning the house one day.
And you couldn't find it?
No, the piece of paper got thrown out.
Did Emma throw it out?
No, I think I did. She's like...
That's a big man to say that.
I definitely think I did because I put it with a bunch of other things and I was like, oh, I don't need any of that. It was like some bills and stuff that I just threw out.
Anyone who ever loses anything in a house where they share it with their partner will almost blame their partner for throwing it out.
This was me. So it was my own self 7th circle of hell because then I had no way of telling if I'd done 12 or if I'd done 45. 9. Yeah, like, and so I got to the stage where I was just like, even Emma was like normally she likes to read a book while I play and she'll just sit next to me. She's like, this is actually getting really hard to like watch, like even peripherally, because this is boring as batshit. And I was like, this is the definition of grinding a game.
Yeah, wow.
But I did it. I have my shiny platinum now.
Square Enix fixed your bugs.
They fixed my bugs, and then I loaded in the PS5 version I got for free, and I got a double platinum. So you know what? Fuck you, Square Enix, you pieces of shit.
There's nothing wrong with a double platinum.
Stupid cunts.
Okay. All right, and on that note, we're going to take a quick break. So you can wash your mouth out with soap. And we're back.
And
we have Podcat Asshole in the shot. It's better when they're asleep. Right. Do you want to take us away?
Well, let's start with the beer. So the last beer we're doing tonight is from Nomad Brewing Co. Also on the Northern Beach. It's been a bit of a Northern Beaches theme today. Because 2 of the beers.
Very posh.
Yeah, look at us. This is, Nomad, their Supersonic, which is their double IPA series. The Sonic Boom. This is their
It's very Mortal Kombat themed tonight. No, that was Street Fighter 2 anyway. Carry on.
It was Street Fighter 2.
Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom. This is their Yuzu and Passion Fruit double IPA. Flying at the speed of sound, Maggie has created a Sonic Boom with this hazy dipper. On the way, she's collected her favorite citrus edition, this time Yuzu and Passion Fruit, as well as the tasty hop combination of Galaxy, Nelson Southern, and experimental hop HBA 016, which is now called Eclipse for those playing at home. Strap yourself in for the ride. With the latest in the Supersonic series.
Yeah, lovely.
I fucking love yuzu. I used to work in a Japanese bar and we did a couple of cocktails with yuzu and it is
7.8%, bro.
It is 3.07 standard drinks.
It's very specific once again.
Dan would be also
There must be some sort of change in legislation or something that Dan neglected to mention. Because
No, I think
usually standard
some
drinks
brewers
is-
just think they're like showing their
how
class,
accurate we are.
showing their class a bit.
come on. By adding a decimal
wouldn't-
place?
Dan wouldn't be happy though because all 4 beers we've had tonight, all their cans have been misaligned. See, I see this now because Dan's pointed it out.
Yeah.
Fucking hate it.
It's going to be like Kurt Russell's son. You can never unsee that shit.
Wyatt. It's quite a name too.
Wyatt.
He didn't.
So was he born in a trailer? Sorry.
I don't think so because it's the
Sorry,
son
my
of,
white privilege is showing.
It's the son of Kurt and Goldie Hawn. So I'm pretty sure he was born in
So
a fucking mansion somewhere.
yeah. So is he half brother to because
I
Goldie
don't
Hawn's got a daughter who's also an actress, a very pretty, famous one.
I don't know.
Sorry, very pretty and very famous, not very pretty famous.
To be honest, the live celebrities interest me about as much as the sweat behind my knee.
Yeah, well, I've got a girlfriend who watches RuPaul every available opportunity that I'm not in front of the TV, so
Fair enough. We've been
Start to
watching
pick
Bob's
up sort of
Burgers.
stuff.
Very funny show.
I actually found out through RuPaul that, I don't know if you watch CW's Flash series.
I did for a bit, yeah.
So Wally West,
Yep.
the actor that plays Wally West, is very, very gay.
Good on him.
Yeah. But it was interesting, like it was genuinely interesting to see him in, he wasn't in drag, because I mean RuPaul is a drag show, an American kind of reality TV drag competition.
It's only had like 17 seasons. I'm sure people haven't heard of it.
And the rest.
Yeah.
So they've got...
Well, that's the American version.
Yeah,
then
right.
there's
So
the
they've done UK, they've done All Stars, they're doing RuPaul Down Under. In fact, one of Australia's most famous drag stars was in season 2, I think. Anyway, so I'm kind of picking up on the...
Oh, yeah. No, Emma watches it and she loves it.
Through osmosis.
Yeah. It's on. But
But it was cool seeing him in like, he had...
Was he one of the guest judges or something?
Yeah, he was a guest judge and he was in drag makeup.
Oh, cool.
Which I thought was really cool. It was interesting to see him in, because it was interesting in the sense that it is
such a cardboard cutout in Flash.
But it was such a black and white portrayal. Like in Flash, he's like the typical straight black guy.
Yeah.
And ultra straight down the middle.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the character personality, not just in terms of sexuality. And to see him as himself was really interesting to see. It was cool. And he, like I said, he wasn't in drag, but he was in drag makeup. So it was interesting to see him with glitter on his
cool.
and his eyeshadow, and yeah, it was cool. I can't remember what I was looking up, but anyway.
This is a big beer. This is very tasty, very, very citrusy forward.
Oh yeah, and it smells like a passion fruit. 7.8% though.
Good thing neither of us are driving. Like I said, I love yuzu as a fruit. I think it's great. I've never actually had a yuzu.
Never tried a yuzu. I don't even know what the fuck a yuzu is. What's a yuzu?
It's a Japanese citrus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think, in line between an orange and a mandarin.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's still got a little bit of punch, but like it's quite delicate, you might say.
Lovely.
Yeah. But yeah, I've used it before. I've tasted it in a sweeter sake, umeshu. There was a yuzu one we used to have on our list when the Japanese bar I worked at. And it was one of those hidden things where you'd be like, oh, it's only a 250ml bottle. It's a couple of sake shots. Why not? Let's do it. And all of a sudden you're just like, oh,
wow.
I'm doing the wobbly walk home.
Kate Hudson, Goldie Hawn's daughter.
There you go.
So they're related, obviously.
Good on him.
I'd say half brother, sister.
I don't know. The lives those celebrities lead. Ugh.
This beer is spectacular again.
Yeah.
That's my word for the evening. It's, I don't know if you can even see me over the cat who's slowly falling asleep while just being generally around people.
You really see, like, when Cara falls asleep like that, you really see the Egyptian, like...
The fin, like, yeah.
No, they go into, like, the canonical, like, urn pose.
Yeah, the Sphinx pose is what I was trying to say. It hides the alcohol really well. You get a little bit of the burn in the back of the throat, which you'd expect out of something that's over 6-7%, but it's because it's so flavor forward that you hide that alcohol. And passion fruit's quite a strong flavor in as well.
Well, you get a double hit of passion fruit from the Galaxy. And Eclipse, the hop, had it was like tropical pine. They used to say, well, no, citrus and pine, but it was like more like sweet citrus.
Yeah, and it is quite a sweet beer. I mean, it's quite acidic because of the alcohol, but it's also you do get a bit of the residual sugar.
Yep.
Also feel like I'm slurring while I'm talking. Some floaties in there.
Well, they did say, it does say on the back they use malted barley and oats to get that that haze character, which is great.
That's a brilliant beer. Very impressive.
The Supersonic series by Nomad is fantastic. If you
And
want
I've got to say,
a big double IPA, they do a really good job.
For everything going on in that can, the fact that you still get hop character, like true hop character, that piney note, is impressive. Because passion fruit, like I said, is a very overpowering flavour when it's used in that kind of concentration. So I'm impressed.
Yeah. Last topics, I guess.
Last topics.
Well, I've
got a question for you to take us away at the end. So get your last topic out.
Okay. All right. That threw me a bit. I'm now scared and alone. No. So after my little rant there before about the grind of the Avengers game, I've decided to take it a bit light and easy on the next few games I've played, and I've been playing a game called Bug Snacks.
Okay.
Now, this is one of the games that was showcased.
This is how you've got 60 platinums by playing 5-minute games.
This isn't a 5-minute game. And
He took the bait.
He did. I did take the bait. Thank you very much. I've worked very hard on those platinums, except for that PS5 Avengers one. That I just plugged it in and went go.
Yeah.
No. So this game, I started playing it a couple of months ago, got through the opening sequence and went, nah, not in the headspace for this.
Yep.
Like, it's very cartoony. You play as this reporter who goes to this island, and the whole thing behind it is they're like weird walrus creatures, and like anthropomorphic like walruses are walking around. And there's one who's very Australian. And
anthropomorphic?
That's probably what I was trying to say.
Like humanized animals?
Humanized, yeah. So they got arms and legs, but they just kind of look animalistic. And you're on the trail of this one particular one who's like a Steve Irwin cross Indiana Jones. So she's discovered this island in the middle of nowhere, and all the creatures on this island are animalized food.
Right.
So the first creature you come across is called a strabby.
A strabby.
And it's a strawberry, upside down strawberry with googly eyes. All the animals have googly eyes. All the little critters. You got to catch them and stuff.
Does it make you feel bad eating them?
Well, this is where that's part of the whole thing. So you have to feed the people on the island these creatures.
Right.
So you catch them. So let me paint the picture. It's an upside down strawberry, and its leaves are its little legs, and it crawls. It just runs around.
Right.
And so you trap it and catch it, and then the people on the island love eating them, but when you feed them,
they squeal.
No, the people change.
Okay.
So you eventually get in. I got far enough into it before I was playing it today. You get far enough into it where you get this device. So like you feed someone a strawberry, and then it makes their front half of their hand turns into a strawberry. And then you feed them there's a little thing, it's like a spider, but it's made out of fries, so it's called a frider.
Oh my God.
And you feed them one of them, and then like the other part of their body turns into a chip.
Right.
So like, it's a little bit like, okay, what were you smoking at the time?
Yeah.
But like the story's like, I've been playing through it, and it's quite an engaging little story of like, it's very community based, and it's all about all the, they're trying to set up a new society on this island kind of thing, and discovering what happened before. But I don't know if you played, remember playing like the original Pokemon, they'd always say like their name.
Yep.
So it'd be like, Pikachu or like little Squirtle.
Yeah.
So the little guys running around are all saying their little names. But as they like attack you or as you capture them, it's just like, it's this weird.
I'm going to say, I do miss the original Game Boy Pokemon game too. That was a brilliant little game.
But it's just a fun little thing. It was, and it was showcased as one that I got as a PS Plus game. Sitting there, and I'm just like, you know what? This is cartoony and fun and bright and vibrant and perfect use of the PS5. Like it's not ray tracing or doing anything spectacular, but it's just fun and enjoyable, and it's just
yeah.
But
cool.
It's just.
Have you seen what's going on at the moment with people's controllers falling apart?
Is that the controller drift or?
Yeah, so they've always every console, any console maker that's made a a controller, and this extends all the way back to PC controllers that were designed in that kind of shape, have always had a trouble with the analog sticks with drift over time.
Oh, I remember they get the chalkiness around your 64, and it would just be sitting halfway. I haven't experienced much of it.
I've never experienced it in the PlayStation 4 or the 5, and I think PlayStation 4 I owned on release day through to PS5 release day.
Did you get a Pro? I thought you got a Pro.
Yeah, you're right, but I kept the controllers.
Oh, cool.
And never replaced the controller the entire time, and have never experienced any kind of drift. Maybe I'm just not playing games at the competitive level enough to
it's definitely
set the
people
sensitivity.
Playing,
It'd be like first-person shooters, ultra-sensitive fucking controls. But apparently the wear and tear on the PS5 controller is a hell of a lot higher than on PS4. One thing I will say is the resistance on the triggers. I can feel mine starting to get weird. I don't know how to describe it, but playing Call of Duty, and it's interesting. I thought it was a cool little touch in COD Cold War. Yeah, I think the different guns have different resistances to the trigger. Yeah, so you can half pull the trigger and feel the resistance where you get to the trigger point on the gun, and if you pull past that, it'll release, and obviously you shoot. Yep. And if you pick up a machine gun, it's a hell of a lot harder to pull the trigger from that resistance point than a sniper rifle. Sniper rifle has a hair trigger, so you don't have to pull a lot of force to fire the gun. I thought that was a cool little touch, but I can feel when the game loads into the map, it engages that force sensitivity in the trigger, and the click is getting louder out of the physical controller. You've got an audible click from the controller engaging the magnets or whatever's going on inside. And I'm finding over time, it's feeling like sand in the gears.
Yeah, right.
So I suspect they're going to have some issues with that in the next 6 to 9 months.
I haven't felt any of that. I have played a few games that were PS5 designed to give you that adaptive trigger and the feedback.
It's a
and stuff.
Sick feature. It really genuinely is.
So playing, that was the thing. I played a little bit of the PS5 version of the Avengers, and it felt so much differently having that adapted for the controller. It was insanely different. Like I was, you got into a rhythm of the buttons you were pressing, but then when you did it with throwing cap shield, it became second nature when I was playing it. But then when I was actually using the PS5 version and I had to hold to throw it, I was like, oh, okay, shit, yeah. And then the 2 missions I played, I was going to go and play all the DLC, but I just got so
bored,
frustrated.
Right.
Hence my outburst before. But there was Hawkeye and Hawkeye Jr. were the 2 story DLCs you got for free. And I was just I played a little bit of the Hawkeye Jr. one, and it was just kind of I feel and you felt the thing in the bow when you went to pull the bow back fully, you felt it. It was a slower thing to when, between playing as Black Widow and firing 2 pistols and then playing as Cap and throwing the shield and playing as Iron Man and...
Yeah, just a little bit of variety. It's quite subtle, but
the way they use that controller
to your immersion, right?
Is really it's fast. It's fucking cool. It's fucking cool.
Which leads me to my question, and I mean we're at 15-minute mark, so this will probably take us to the end. But considering all your favorite video games in history, and you've talked about Ocarina of Time a lot, which is a game I've never played a Zelda game at all ever.
You had a
just complete Zelda virgin.
Very sad childhood by the sounds of things.
Sure. I had a great childhood, actually.
I'm sorry.
It broke me. Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
And what you're playing today, given what you know of PS5 technology, and I guess that may or may not be relevant, if you could invent your own game, what would you play next? If you could kind of come up with your own video game, what would it be?
Oh, fuck. What a bit of lead-in time would have been nice for this question. Jesus.
Well, you never gave us lead-in time for your augmented penis.
It was augmented eyes, thank you. The HUD display in the eyes, that'd be so cool.
That wasn't even yours. That was Dan's. I
had my torch.
Flashlight.
Yeah. You know what?
I'd have an augmented flashlight. Flashlight, sorry.
You would have an augmented flashlight. What video game would I create next? Well, I mean, for me personally, or to something that I think would be commercially successful?
You personally. What would you...
It'd have to be something that would... It'd definitely have to be an open world. But one of those ones where it's open world, but there's obviously the main storyline. Like it'd probably be. It'd be it wouldn't be very similar, but it'd be like Skyrim. It'd be something like Skyrim, but not Skyrim. Like I'd love an original story set in a world that was so immersive when I first played Skyrim. Like you just fell right into it.
I feel blessed, as stupid as that statement is, because in the context of the world going on around us, video game experiences is not blessed. But I feel blessed that I never played Skyrim until VR. My one and only experience with Skyrim, that entire game from very beginning to the end, was inside the VR headset. Yeah. And I guarantee you the experience would have been different if I had replayed the game for the second time in VR as opposed to definitely exploring it for the first time in VR.
Yeah. Yeah, but something like that, just it'd be some fantastical tale. Like I grew up on fantasy novels, so it'd be something along those lines. But it'd have to be like...
How would it be different from all the fantasy games you've played?
What Dan was talking about in Cyberpunk, I would fill the fuck out of the back of the world. Like,
yeah, okay.
I would want something like, and it could absolutely push the processing power of any unit I'm using to the absolute level, like the absolute max. But if I was able to follow someone and like just be able to follow someone around the streets and just see them live out their lives, I think that'd be, and that immersion, that level of immersion, that'd be so cool.
We're not at that point yet, but it's conceivable to see a future video game where an AI algorithm is writing the life story of a background character in real time for the game.
Yeah. Times
every character that you... Because...
Well, I imagine that'd be the next step up from the procedurally generated worlds. You procedurally generate lives.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you look at some of the better video games in terms of background kind of or backdrop immersion, like Witcher 3, they have day-night cycles, and you know, if you walk into a blacksmith's kind of area, he will go to bed at night, he'll come out, he'll talk to his daughter, and then he'll get to the grindstone and start making armor.
And he'll just be grinding the same sword for 8 hours. Yeah,
pretty much. Yep. But and then he'll go to bed. All the Bethesda games are quite similar. So, you know, Fallout 3.
I know how to be different to Skyrim. If you walked into some dude's house at 3 a.m. to wake him up to tell him you finished his side quest, he'd roll over and say, fuck off. That'd be the realism I'd need. I wouldn't be running into someone's house at 3 a.m. and crouching down and then stealing shit off their counter.
We've all been there in Fallout 3 within the first 15 minutes of the game.
Oh, the opening mission of Skyrim, I was just running around being like, that's mine, thank you.
Sell everything for silver.
But yeah, like something like that'd be a feature it'd need to be. It'd be like...
artificially intelligent story writing of background characters so that if you followed them around the game world, they would live out their lives.
Yeah.
They'd go and get food. They'd, you know, maybe collect ingredients or go to the market, buy ingredients, bring it home, cook it for dinner, sit around and talk to their family.
And that'd be a cool way to do like
go
lore,
adventuring,
to do lore of like the back world. Like have them like sit around instead of watching TV at night because it's a fantasy world. They'd sit around the fire and tell the story of Yorgurn, the greatest dragon who ate 10,000 cats.
Ironically, as somebody who has a passing interest in psychology and you know and psychosis, they've done studies that indicate, and obviously you can't prove, but indicate that. As a race, humans were happier 300 years ago, 400 years ago, when, you know, it was all about community. You would work the fields from like 5 a.m. until like 2 in the afternoon, and the rest of your day would be spent socializing with your community. And you would have a connectivity, like a connection to your neighbors and your community that's much deeper than it is today.
Oh, 100%.
And yet I couldn't tell you my neighbors' progress.
Couldn't tell you my neighbors' names.
And the only neighbors' names I know here, frankly, I don't really like any of them, other than maybe one who's cool. But it's just, you know, for all of the strive for a better job with better money and buy more shit that makes you happy. Yeah, psychologists believe at the moment that like you go back to even medieval times and people were fundamentally happier as a human race.
Well, they went around for as long, so, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't have a chance to be old and depressed.
Yeah, true. And laws and society were very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So
What's yours? The old reversal, eh?
I've been thinking about this for a long time, but I only formulated the question while we're in the middle of the break in between sessions. So, it'd have to be based on, and I know, so Dan will talk about Baldur's Gate 3 next time we get the three of us together.
Yeah, that trailer was cool.
And it's developed by Larian Games, who made Divinity Original Sin 2, and 1 that Dan and I have been playing. That was a Kickstarter-based game.
Yeah.
And it was fucking fantastic as a game. The depth in that game was brilliant. And it told a very small sandbox story inside a humongous kind of backdrop. So it's exciting to have them doing BG3. So I can't really say that is the game that I would want next. But the one thing I miss that I would love to play on a PlayStation 5 specifically is a World of Warcraft style game.
Yeah.
With, there's a lot of layers to that talks to my heart in terms of my history. So, the palette and the style of the graphics in the game. It was one of the few standout games for me where artistically they went in a very specific direction and made it theirs.
Yep.
It's cartoony but realistic in a very specific balance. It uses a bright palette but also muted. So the backgrounds were always kind of muted palettes.
But it's the armor that's bright.
Yeah, well, or just fire and, fell fire and the sort of neon greens and neon purples. And I always thought that was really well done.
Yep.
The intricacy of the interacting storylines was always really cool. There's lots of lore sitting behind it. And then the mechanics of the game. The fact that, they've got 500 plus boss fights in that video game, and every single one of them has a different mechanic that you need to understand in order to defeat the boss. I'm pretty pissy now.
Yep.
To be able to play that on a PlayStation 5 with your mates. Now, obviously, it's not a direct port. It can't be a direct port because there's too much complexity to the UI, and you've got, 11 hot spell buttons that you need to be, or hotkey buttons that you need to be able to press to cast spells in a certain order and cooldowns and all the rest of it. No matter what class or race you were, you needed a lot of UI interface space, and you just can't replicate a keyboard on a controller.
Have you played? So I Dragon Age is one that I've played where you had. You could do up to 8, but essentially you had two wheels of 4 that you could program to, and then you hit the first 4, and then you hit R2, and you could bring up the second 4 and switch it through.
I haven't played that. I have played DC Universe Online, which was a PlayStation 3, I think, originally. Massive multiplayer online role-playing game. And they did a decent job of kind of paving the way. I don't think it was the first, but they did a decent job of kind of pushing the boundary on what you could do with a controller. But the complexity of the interactions between the various spells and stuff, I don't know if you could replicate World of Warcraft on the PS5, but if I could just invent a game, that would be it. It would be not necessarily set in that universe, but certainly set with that level of complexity behind it. A Warhammer or even a Warhammer 40k MMORPG on a PlayStation would be fantastic. Yeah. Because those are two games that have got, 40 plus years of rich history to draw from, lots of interacting storylines. Warhammer's set in a fantasy world, 40k in a sci-fi world. Either of those two universes would be brilliant to do a video game in. And then one that's socially interactive with your mates. Because I also miss that connectivity as well.
Yeah, I definitely miss some couch co-op.
It's one of those, I find some video games get boring if you play it by yourself. And you might play with a mate or two mates or three mates, but MMORPGs are unique in the sense that you can't achieve what you need to achieve without a larger group. Yeah. And if you play with the same larger group over a period of time, you kind of become, let's call it virtual friends.
Oh, no, definitely. No, there's definitely a movement about the meeting your online mates and or trying to at least, and how much the bonds you'd kind of develop with them. For me though, if I was just thinking then, in follow-up question to yours, you were talking about how you and Dan played through Divinity and that kind of connectivity thing. like I never had that growing up because instead of doing online connectivity, because family of 7, back when you had to do a dial up and use the phone, everyone got pissed at you if you were trying to play a game. But we used to go, for me, like if I could go back in time and do it again, I would 100% spend a very large amount of time back at my mate's house playing 4-player Smash Brothers. We would play that for hours on end.
I think you've talked about that too, in that house and the video games you played. And
it was primarily Smash Brothers, a bit of Mario Kart thrown in there just for fun, but the amount of Smash we played, like stupid amounts. But
it's
it was
ironic.
just like,
sorry to cut you off there. It's ironic that, talking about WoW, and I've probably talked about it to death, but I started playing that game only because I moved out of home when I was 17. I've got 3 younger brothers that were still living at home until I think their 30s.
Yeah.
And because I'm the eldest, I kind of moved out before my younger brothers were adults. And so I never really got to know them as people, as their adult personalities while I was growing up.
Yeah.
I moved out too quickly. If I'd stayed there until I was 30 as well, then obviously I'd have a much deeper connection with them. So I moved out of home, and I think I was 24, 25, 3 younger brothers who all connected very tightly, and I was the outsider because I'd moved out so soon. And one of them was playing World of Warcraft and sucked the rest of us in.
Yeah.
And so I built my initial friendships with my adult brothers in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Even though they're all 10 minutes down the fucking road at the time. They're obviously spread all over the world now. But so that connectivity, what you're talking about in terms of being in that share house and playing Smash Brothers, I can absolutely relate to. And I would probably find if I thought about it, my kind of emotional connection to a video game has less to do with the video game and more to do with the connectivity, the family that it brought.
Oh, definitely same. It's connectivity with those mates. Like if I went back and played Smash, Brawl or Melee, whichever one is the Wii or the GameCube now, but you're like, it's fun. But like it wouldn't be it's not the same. Yeah, but it's not the same as when you're there with 4 mates till 3 a.m. being absolute fucking idiots. Yeah.
And I that's what I enjoyed about Divinity. And having 2 people, it reminded me of pen and paper RPG, sitting around a table with a couple of mates or 3 or 4 mates and a DM. When I was playing Divinity 2 and 1 with Dan, the interaction between the 2 people playing the game and the creativity interacting, because it was a game that was designed around puzzles, and you had to think about what you were going to do, and there was 50 ways to solve a problem.
Yeah.
So your idea and his idea would kind of combine to be the way that you went forward, and you'd experiment. Sometimes it would work, and sometimes it wouldn't. I think that's kind of what I'm craving next for a video game.
Well, hopefully Baldur's Gate's that.
So I hope so. We'll find out when next time Dan's on the episode, because anyway, we've got to wrap. We've got like 30 seconds to go. So thank you very much. On that
highly emotional note.
Yeah. We went deep.
We went deep. Look at that. It's not even 3 a.m. We're having DMs on the couch.
All right. Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. Good night and good luck.
Bye.